Okay, I'm going to call the order, the Bellflower City Council meeting to order Monday, June 25th, 2018 at 7 p.m. And no reportable action in closed session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Coops,
Here.
Councilmember Schnableger, Mayor Pro Tem Santinas,
Here.
Councilmember Garza,
Here.
Mayor Dutton.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to excuse the absence of Councilmember Schnableger.
Second.
Without objection, that'll be the order. Okay, can I have everybody please rise for an invocation led by Councilmember Coops and a pledge of allegiance by P.J. Milana, our Director of Public Parks.
Let's bow together for a word of prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening hour to give you thanks for all the blessings that you've given to us as a city and as citizens individually. Be with us as we deliberate those items in front of us. Be with us as we consider what is best for our city. Again, we want to thank you for the good service that we're given by our service, the fire and the sheriff's department and the paramedics and everybody that makes our town better and safer. Be with us as we consider that those in the Army and the Navy and the Marines that take care of us day to day throughout the nation and throughout the world. And please put your hand on them to keep them safe. In his name we pray. Amen.
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 Please place your right hand over your heart and join with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, summer is finally here, and Parks and Recreation Department is excited to showcase their inventory of community events. All the fun kicks off this Thursday, June 28th at 6:30 p.m. with a classic rock concert at our first Street Fest for the summer. Throughout the summer, we will host Street Fests and food trucks and flicks and fun and events. We hope you come and enjoy these festivities. These events are free, and there will be food available for sale and more information available at www.bellflower.org. And this is our events that we have downtown on Bellflower Boulevard in the Belmont Plaza area. That we do the movie theater nights every other night on the Plaza area on the big wall and outside. And then on Bellflower Boulevard in between those other weekends, we have the Street Fest from Oak to Flower. And with that, Mayor Pro Tem Sonny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a reminder, the city's next general municipal election will be held on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, for City Council Districts 1, 3, and 5. This election will be consolidated with the general election conducted by the Los Angeles County Register of Voters. Our goal is to make this transition as smooth as possible. Therefore, if you have any questions about this election, voter registration, or which council district you reside in, please contact the City Clerk's office at 562-804-1424, extension 2271, or via email at cclerk@bellflower.org. In addition, in the year 2020, Los Angeles County will transition from polling places to vote centers. This new model will allow voters to cast a ballot at any voter center location in the county over the 11-day election period. The vote center placements project's core mission is to identify and place accessible and convenient vote center locations throughout Los Angeles County. To provide your input on where the vote center should be located, please visit www.lavote.net. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinas. Councilman Member Dan Coops.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Independence Day will be celebrated next Wednesday, July 4th. And as a reminder to all residents, the Bellflower Municipal Code makes it illegal to use, possess, or transport any fireworks that are not classified as safe and sane. If your celebrations include fireworks, by law, they must bear the safe and sane label, and the seal must say, State of California State Fire Marshal approved. And Bellflower, safe and sane fireworks may only be discharged July 1 through July 5. If you suspect or observe someone storing illegal fireworks, contact the city's firework tip hotline at 562-925-0124, and that is extension 2532. Or if you observe someone discharging illegal fireworks, call the Lakewood Sheriff's Department, and they're at 562-623-3500, 3500, and a patrol unit will respond to your area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Coops. Councilmember Juan Garza?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Economic Development Department is implementing a new program to encourage Bellflower businesses to establish or update their Yelp platform. The goal of the program is to increase the amount of dialogue with customers by responding positive. The goal of the program is to increase the amount of dialogue with customers by responding, I'm assuming it's to positive customer feedback, in hope of attracting more customers to Bellflower. Overall, the Economic Development Department wants to encourage local businesses to increase their internet presence by including vital information such as photos of products or services, address, contact information, and hours of operation. For more information, contact Anika Miyashiro Ruiz at 562-804-1424, extension 2249, or via email at Miyashiro, and I'll spell that, it's AMIYASHIRO at bellflower.org. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Okay, item 10, public comments. Mr. Stewart.
This is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council should come to the podium, be recognized by the mayor, and state your name for the record. If you wish to address the city council on an agenda item, you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given a reasonable amount of time to address the city council.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Anybody wishing to come up and speak on a non-agenda item? Okay, now it's, Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, good.
I wanted to give you guys a copy of these if I have them too.
Yeah, the clerk right in front of you.
Just a breakdown for you guys to look at, I'm sure you guys already know what the salaries are, and they're astonishing, but I just wanted to ask the city council about the pension liability, the unfunded pension liability, and like in the year 2015, Bellflower reported that the pension liability was $7.4 million, but CalPERS said that it was $9.2 million. I was just wondering why the difference, or,
Okay. I've seen this before. Gentleman John Butts dropped this off. Did you get one too, Dan?
well,
I just
mean,
want to
no
disclose that. Yeah,
surprises. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
still looking for an answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
How would you want to address that, Mr. Stewart? Yeah, yeah, we're not prepared to answer that because we don't have that data.
sorry, what data was that?
We have the
Mr.
data.
You do? Okay, yeah.
The finance director has it. He's not here at the moment, and I'd have to answer it later when he gets in. So if you leave your name and number, I'll answer the question for you tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I'm not here to surprise anybody. I mean, all right.
Now, I've talked to gentlemen about, in a little bit depth of this too already.
Right, I mean, Bellflower's a member of the California League of Cities, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, the California League of Cities has come out and said, hey, this whole thing with CalPERS, the pension liability is unsustainable, and they've
Through the
actually-
whole state of California.
Absolutely, not just the city of Bellflower, everybody, and they've actually sat there and they've called for, the negotiators and the people that meet with CalPERS, I don't know if that's Mr. Stewart or not, but to restructure the pension liability and the retirement plans and go to more like a 401K plan. And I just wanted to ask the city council, I mean, I haven't heard you guys talk about it, I mean, is that, can you guys tip your hat and tell us, what your plans are? I mean, when are we gonna
Well-
declare bankruptcy?
Well, when we do union negotiations, that is a part of it. But I believe there's things that are promised in law that you cannot go back
There's
on.
tape.
You can
Right.
only go from now and beyond.
Correct, right, yeah.
Oh, Mr. Taves, you're okay. Oh, did he, was he listening to this audio?
He must have been.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't.
Okay, you want to hear the question again?
My question, yeah. I was
Yeah,
just-
yeah, why don't you give the question again there for our finance director, please?
Yes, my question was just, in the year 2015, Bellflower reported the net pension liability as 7.4 million, and CalPERS reported it at 9.2 million, and I just wanted to know, why the discrepancy, or what the difference is, or?
What I need to do is get the supporting documentation and go over with this
No
gentleman.
problem, yeah, I think no surprises here,
Might be worthwhile, we'll just post it. So if we've gotten several questions about it, we'll just post it on the website. It's available for public review. I'm happy to do that when we get the information out. So there's no hide the ball here, so it is what it is.
And I don't want to take up, too much time, I know I'm already coming up on 5 minutes here, but, can I just ask the city council, have you guys discussed it, or do you have in the plans, maybe to?
We discuss it at every union
really?
contract.
Well,
Not-
there's-
Union contracts come up,
There's a
we
couple
do.
things happening. It's we'll get your answer to you, but the PERS problem that's being purported up and down the state has a lot to do with the full-service agencies that have law enforcement. The law enforcement contracts have been reformed, but were completely out of hand for about 12 years at the 3% at 50 formula. And those cities are reporting unbelievable retirement amounts and 35 to 40% on their hit on that. This city is not even close. I don't know what our rate is now, but it's not even remotely close to that number, the 20, yeah. So about half that. But, and again, out of that number is, I'll tell you what, rather than explain here, because I'm going to get into numbers I don't have in front of me, but there's a breakout between the employee and the, yeah.
Can I just ask, when you just said the numbers are, for the law enforcement, or I think you just said they're out of control or out of hand, or?
Correct, they are, no, there's no doubt about it, but the deal is that we don't have law enforcement here. For the fire department, we're part of the LA County Fire Protection District, and for the police department, we are part of the LA County Sheriff's Department. Neither of those are PERS entities. LA County has a program that's largely reciprocal with PERS, but it's LA County Retirement System, and, the fire department does as well. So it's a different game, and quite honestly, it's funny you should say that, because the previous two agencies I worked for before I worked here were full-service agencies, and that gets old, trying to balance your budget on the backs of those pensions every year, and part of the reason I want to come back to a contract city, so.
Right, yeah.
yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you guys know, and I'm sure you talk about it every meeting, right? As the CalPERS wants the city to contribute more money, it has to come from somewhere, right? It's going to come from the essential services or whatever, right?
Yeah, CalPERS, the problem with
Comes from
CalPERS
the
is
taxpayers.
it's a moving target with them as well. It's a very complex issue.
Right.
And it has to do with partly with their investments and some of the games they're playing with their investments and what they're looking back from their cities. And it's hard to draw a circle around it, but it's something that we wrestle with all the time. One of the things that we've been looking to do here is to fully fund these pensions, the obligations we have on that. And we're not all that far away, but, we'll get the information to you on that.
It's interesting how you said they're playing games with the, you're absolutely right. Yeah. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Stewart, I suggest if we're going to put that on the website, instead of this gentleman to
Yeah, because,
to
this
wait
is the
to wait
second
up, to
question.
wait for it.
Mr.
we
Butts has asked a question, and now this question's come up, so it's second question's come up. I think that there are multiple people who have the interest in it. We'll just post it on the website when we get it, what the city's position is with regard to the pensions, and,
Yeah.
yeah.
My name is John Butts. I just got a different item here this evening to bring up, and it's the way some of this businesses are being handled by staff, let's say. I have a business. I don't do any work in this city at all, except for once in a blue moon for some friend. And I pay $181 for a business license. So I do. Now, you've got a lot of people coming into this city that don't get a business license to begin with. And I'm referring to, I was here at City Hall today, and I brought out 1, 2, 3, 4 addresses just over around where I live. homeowner pulls the permit as owner builder, so the solar guy can get out of the scam deal. That puts it all on the owner's back if something goes wrong. It lets the solar guy off the hook, because this 80-year-old guy let him talk him into pulling the damn permit. Well, I know what's going on there. I don't think it's right. When a guy comes in to pull a solar thing, he should be forced to pull the business license and the permit and keep the poor homeowner off the hook. I mean, I thought we tried to put something together to protect the citizens, and I thought we had it, but apparently I screwed up on part of it too.
Yeah.
So, if we could try to cover that extra base,
That makes sense, John.
and especially with good old Jerry Brown wanting to give everybody free solar and stuff. These poor people are gonna jump on that issue and get taken to the cleaners. Now, the other part is a person in my type of business on these roofing and stuff will pull a permit, never get a final. Never call for the final. Sits in that cabinet out there. I asked one address, it's been there 9 years. Staff for 9 years hasn't looked at that and said, well, somebody's gotta be done with it by now. So staff is getting lackadaisical at it. If you got something, especially just on the roof, you know on a house, it's gonna be done within a week. Why isn't somebody from here calling that phone number to the guy that pulled it? Are you ready for your final yet? To protect the homeowner. Otherwise, they adios it. Move, go broke, whatever. The reason I don't do any work here on houses is because I carry liability insurance. You don't have to, according to the state of California. I carry workman's comp. You all have to, but he only carries it for himself, even though he's got 50 border jumpers paying cash. Nobody's checking on none of this. Now, what gets me is we got this city police force operating out of that substation. I still haven't figured out what that's for. But if you're gonna pay somebody $20, $40 an hour, that's their pension and everything together, to drive around and follow that street sweeper, and that's all they do, to pass out a street sweeping ticket, isn't it so much easier when they're driving around, and they're on the weekends doing it, you're paying them for them, we are, just to stop and say, geez, what are you doing there? You got a business license? Don't even have to approach them. Just write the address down and Monday morning come in and say, this is going on, do they have a license? You're losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But what I'm getting at is, for an extra little thing, he's in that car or in that truck running around, and I'm irritated when it comes to looking at paying a guy $40 an hour to chase a street sweeper. I think it's uncalled for, so let's at least add another item to his agenda. Then he can give it to the code enforcement people. They can follow up on it. It's simple math. He can call it in. He doesn't have to approach anybody. I don't know if you've got any authority there. And there's some training involved, because when I asked today on certain addresses, oh, we don't have that. But if you can tell us who the owner is, and then I finally told the kid, I said, if you look up the damn address, you'll find it. You can cross-reference. He's one of your computer wackos out here. God knows what we're paying him. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anybody else wishing to come forward and talk about a non-agenda item? Yes. Come on up. So when you get up here, I need you to state your name, write your name and an address down.
Okay, I didn't know, this is my first time at a
That's okay.
council meeting. My name is Norma Payne. I've lived here about 33 years, and I like Bellflower. But right now, I'm looking to move into another district. I've been here, about 4 or 5 times talking to your code enforcer. We live on Walnut Street, right off of Bellflower Boulevard, and we all know our neighbors. Well, my neighbor recently, off to the right of me, heading west, she passed away. Had a beautiful house. We kept our house up. The neighbors across the street keep their houses up. Well, we get our new neighbors in. Next thing we know, we've got 150 trees planted in their front yard. I griped about it, and they said there's nothing you guys can do about it. And I thought, no, this is not right. So the other day, it was on voting day, she planted 5 trees in your parkway. Well, I called it in. The next thing I know, you gave her a citation. Those trees were out of there. And I thought, now, why can't you do that for the people who live on the street, have to see this ugly house? There's a house down the corner of Walnut and Ardmore. You can't even see the house. An elderly man lives in there. It looks like a jungle. And it's been that way for the last 33 years, ever since I moved into there. No one's ever done it. One day we got all excited on the street. They were putting a new roof. We thought, oh my God, they sold the place. Well, no, someone turned them in. The insurance company made them put a new roof on. Basically, it's the same way. And I don't know if you may know this house on Ardmore and Walnut Street. It's the jungle. Well, my neighbor next door thinks that is beautiful. That's the way she wants her house to look. Well, right off the bat, it lowers the value of our house. Right now, our house is right about the $700,000 because it's a larger house. It's on a deep lot. Now we've got this next door, and it looks like crap. And I talked to your code enforcer, and I told him, would you live next door to this? You know, you've lived here, you've been happy with your neighbors, happy with the neighbors off the side of you. Now you got this, and it takes 3 months for us to be all unhappy. And I want to know if there's something you can do about it. It looks like a nursery is what it looks. It doesn't even look like a house. If you could pull it up on Zillow, I live at 9633 Walnut. It's right next door. It shows this beautiful house, nice driveway, brick, beautiful front yard. Well, you can't even see the front yard right now. It is just nothing but all these exotic trees. And that's the other thing that worries me. Because now I know in Norwalk they're having a citrus problem with the lemon trees. There is a pest that now there's nothing they can do. There's nothing, no kind of spray you can put on it. It will destroy the lemon tree. Well, she's got lemons, she's got apples, she's got papaya over there. You name it, she's got it over there. And some of the plants are still in the black tubs that you would get from a nursery. Some are planted in the ground. And as many as you see out in that front yard, she has in the backyard and behind the garage. So there's got to be something you guys you can do about this. You've got to keep the neighborhood where it looks nice. So like I say right now, I never wanted to move from here, but I told my husband, that's it. I'm especially talking to your people. So the lady was nice enough. She said, well, come to one of the council meetings. Like I said, I've never been to one. I said, I'm going to give it a go. And so I told my neighbors across the street, you know, when I was coming, and they said, let me know, because they said they'll sign a petition. There's got to be something I can see having plants out in your front yard, if it's done nicely, give it some kind of a theme. But just to plant them in rows, about 4 feet apart, no. And it's the full length of this house, the full depth. So right about now, there is about 75 planted in the ground, and about, I would say, 65 just in big black tubs, just sitting all over the place. And in the backyard, I don't give 2 hoots because I don't see it. But the front, yes. So right now, I figure it's devalued my house, because who's going to come buy a nice house and knowing you got to live next to it, right next door?
I feel your pain, and I understand, but I don't know if the
We just looked it up on Google, and in 2015 it looks fine, so obviously it's changed since then, so we'll come out and look at it tomorrow. See what we can do.
Please do,
Yeah, I don't
because
want
like I
to
say,
disappoint you, but there's,
well, you want to keep your good neighbors
right,
in
oh, no, I get it.
Bellflower.
There seems like to be something like that on every street. There's at
You
least
want-
one on every street, it seems like.
The one down
Yeah.
the street, like I said,
Yeah.
we put up with this, but now
Yeah.
it's closer to home, and it's
Right,
right next door.
I
Not
know,
that
I
big
get
a
it.
yard, yeah,
But,
we'll
you know,
look at it. I'll
there
get it
may
tomorrow.
be something we
Like I
can
say, I live
do.
at 9633 Walnut.
Oh, what's house, I'm sorry, we're looking at your house looks great. What's the
Thank
address?
you.
Right next door, right next door.
Right next door. If it shows with nothing there,
Is it east or west?
I would be, on my right would be west.
Okay,
It is a long driveway.
but it's
brick.
2015. When did the house sell?
Okay, just about 6 months ago.
Okay, so it was only 6 months ago.
So the picture you would see is what it should look like.
Yeah.
But now you put
Yeah.
55 trees in pots and over 100 in the ground, and it looks like a
No,
jungle.
no, I see, I feel your pain, I get what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Oh, yeah.
But, and short of, if there's nothing written in the code at this point in time.
You need to do
there-
something with the code
Yeah,
because
I get what you're saying,
Well,
but,
short- okay,
you
let
know,
me- let me
short thing,
answer-
people have, property rights to make their house, let their house kind of go, but if it goes too far, we can do
that's it.
something.
Well, especially if you're gonna start forcing.
We'll take a look at your property tomorrow. Now, what I will
Please.
say is on
Yeah.
the right of way, nobody can put trees out there, so
Well,
we
see,
enforce that pretty
that was
rigorously.
something
Yeah.
that, when she first moved in, she told me what she was gonna do.
Yeah.
And I says, you can't put it in the parkway. I says, that belongs to Bellflower. Oh, no, I can't. And I says, no, you can't. And so, like I said, on election day, here's these plants. And I thought, that did it. So that day I came over here and I griped again. And like I said, 2 days later, you had them out of there. And
Leave
I
your,
went, okay, now, why can't you do that to the rest of the whole yard?
Leave
You
your,
make me so happy.
leave your
Private
phone number.
property
We
is
have your
why.
name, leave your phone
My
number.
name is, okay.
Don't give me the phone, just
Okay.
leave it there and I'll get it, and I'll.
There's nothing right here to write it on.
There you
Whoops, whoops.
Oh, okay.
go. Yeah.
Oh, there's a, causing trouble again.
And we'll, let me look at it tomorrow, we'll call you tomorrow.
Thank you you'd make me so happy, and my neighbors, let me tell you.
I moved on to Walnut in 1973. That house in the corner looked that way. That's 45 years ago.
Yeah, and I used to know the lady when I took a upholstery class, she lived there, and she said it was the most beautiful house on the block.
It
So I
was.
told her what it looked like. In fact, my neighbor who lost her, it was her mother that passed away, she lived with her. When I told her what had happened, she drove by and she called me, she goes, Norma, I had literally had to turn over off the road, and she's, I cried. She says, all her mother's beautiful plants, she was known for her roses. She just put them on top.
Is there a back, is there a house in the back of that house too, a structure in the back?
Yes, there
All
is.
right, I'll take a look at that too.
You think it's a legal structure?
I don't think so. Well, it doesn't look like it.
I was just asking the neighbor. We got this.
All right, we'll get out there tomorrow.
Thank you. That'll save me from moving.
How
let
long,
me tell
you said you lived there 30-some years?
33 years.
That structure in the back, how long has it been there?
Now, that structure off the back of Betty's, that is legal because you had sent out a notice to the people or surrounding if they could put what they called a granny house.
Granny flat, okay.
And evidently,
Granny
it
flat,
must have been approved because it went up, which I thought was strange because your normal center block fence is what, 6 feet tall? Well, the window to the back of that house looks right back in Betty's
You know what,
house.
that's funny. You're right, that's what it looks
So
like.
she
All right.
put hedges it looks so beautiful in her backyard. Well, the first thing these people did, they took every one of those hedges out.
You might be the only compliant house on that block now that we're looking at. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. Well, ours is 140 deep, it's 65 wide. I know that now our neighbors off to the east of us, now you're giving them a permit to put a granny house back there, which is fine. They're beautiful neighbors and they will do a beautiful job, but
Jesus, they're
the ones that are there right now, no.
All right, well, okay. Well,
No.
Yeah.
this could
wish
be an
Granny
interesting
did.
visit, yeah. All right, very good.
Well, thanks for spending your
Thank you
time with
very
us tonight,
much.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, anybody else? Come on up. Now that we found our sign-in sheet.
Even though I do live in Lakewood, this does affect me. I'd like to know why are you guys permitting 5 weed dispensaries in Bellflower? And it's known fact, they only carry crime and stealing. I'd like to know, what are your theories behind it? I mean, you know what?
We put it before the voters.
No.
Yes, we
This-
did.
Okay, You know what, and a lot of people don't understand, but it's up to you guys to make, really crucial decisions. And did you ever talk to the police department about it? Did you ever talk to them about the crime that follows the weed dispensaries? They call them weed followers. Did you ever do that?
We spent 2
And-
years on it.
Well, yeah, and what was your conclusion to it?
Conclusion went before the voters because the state of California passed it.
Well-
Went before our voters that said, we've always had dispensaries. It cost us $250,000 a year to kick them out. And that's when it was illegal. Now, state of California, the state voted on it, said they're going to bring in medical marijuana. And now we decided that if we can't live with them, maybe join them and tax it. So we're taxing it by getting money, and then we can pay for extra police force to enforce it.
Well, unfortunately,
And-
I'm sorry to excuse you, but you know what, you're gonna need extra police force. And that's the problem. Because, I'm a volunteer for the Lakewood Sheriff's Department. I do read the reports. And let me tell you, your crime is quite big here in Bellflower. And it makes me infuriated that you guys stand up here. I don't know if you even live in Bellflower or not, but you know what? My friend who works at the DMV, and we work together in Westminster, and she's told me, she goes, Sarah, where do you live? I said, in Lakewood. She goes, you know what? You live in a beautiful city, because as soon as you cross the boundary line from here to Lakewood, it totally changes.
Mr. Mayor,
All of a sudden, it's really
Yeah.
pretty.
we've had
So-
numerous public
Yeah, I know.
discussions.
So
on
I-
We
this.
spent 2
I
years
know.
with this, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, you're here.
But you know what? It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense because of the fact you guys are allowing it.
Our
Well, I don't
voters
care.
approved us to do
Okay,
it.
but you know what? You could have came out and said something against it. Everything it does bad, that it, they're called weed followers. It caused homeless people. It caused more robberies. But if you don't care about your city,
We care about our city.
well,
It's
unfortunately,
one of the
you
reasons
must
we
not
did it.
really care that much. 'cause
And
you're
there's
gonna
two
see
sides to a
lot of-
story, man.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, there are a lot of
it
two
was a
sides.
business decision made after a
Yeah.
lot of due
Yeah.
diligence. The council made it. They made it, I think, in a fairly staid and studied manner. And I'm sorry you don't like it, but the fact is, we've had 16, 17 different public hearings on this issue. And, this
I
is
know.
a lot way down the line on the issue.
It's not way down the line. Wait till you have more crime.
Anybody else wishing to come forward? Are you sure? Okay, then we'll move on. Get my glasses. Okay,
Mr. Mayor, if you mind, if you would. The staff has requested we pull item 13A.
Right.
We want a little more due diligence and discussion on this issue before we bring it back.
yeah, I was just going to get to the point, we have no public hearings or ordinances for consideration. And item 13A is pulled, as we heard. And we have 13B, but before we do that, we're going to do the consent calendar. We're going to take 14 out of order and then come back to 13B. Because I think we have a council member that may have a conflict on 13B. What's your pleasure, gentlemen, on the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to pull item 14J.
14J for Sunny.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from 3 items
Okay.
under consent calendar. The first one is 14I, 14O, because of my employer, a client relationship conflict, as I've stated before on the cannabis issues. Additionally, I'd like to recuse myself from 14F on the OFO item. On that one, just want to state for the record that my employer no longer has a relationship with this company, but according to the law, I cannot be a part of anything where my employer had a relationship with a client if it's within a year,
Gotcha.
right? So in this case, this falls within 6 months
Okay.
from when we severed our relationship. So, but nonetheless, again, for the record, but I would like to recuse myself from 14F, 14I, and 14O.
Got it, okay.
Thank you.
And Sunny's 14J. Mr. Coops?
14F, I'd like to pull.
Coops and pull it. 14F. And then I myself have a conflict with 14M. I have a property located within 500 feet of that. So I'll recuse myself from 14F. And City Clerk, you have the recusals items? Okay. And we'll start with Sunny first, 14J.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is related to the approved construction of the Regional Transit Center and parking structure. And I received a couple of inquiries, so I just want to find from staff the timeline, the status of this project.
Good evening, Mayor and honorable council members. Just an update on the Regional Transit Center and parking structure project. This item here is the final process for us to vacate the portion of Pacific Avenue that we need to in order to complete the footprint for the parking structure. So the resolution tonight goes through the vacation, and that will be followed by a public hearing in July. Once the public hearing takes place, then we will go ahead and be able to go ahead and vacate Pacific Avenue where we need to do it. As far as the project itself, we met a couple weeks back with the design build team to kind of go over some of the calendar items where we're looking at. We're still working diligently with the utility companies. We have several utilities that have to be relocated, moved, and replaced in that area. Those designs are in process with each one of the respective utilities. And then as far as what we're looking at, I think you're going to start seeing action out there probably anywhere from the first or second week of August, which is when the construction fence will be going up and around Pacific and around Maine and those areas there. And the utilities will move in to do their undergrounding work, and that really will be the first step. So with it starting in the August, the month of August, I think we're looking at a solid year before it's completed and opened up in terms of the actual construction of the parking structure.
Okay,
So that's probably the latest, greatest timeline I have.
that's good. Do you expect to close up Main Street at some point in time during the construction?
Yeah, we'll be going through a notification process with the neighborhoods over there. The project is, that Maine will be impacted to such an extent, we would only have an option of, if anything, keeping it open one direction, and it's really not viable given the blind corner that we have right there with the Greek market and the fact that it's not a signalized intersection. It would just become very dangerous there as part of the construction. So we'll be addressing that a little later with the neighborhoods and doing notifications there.
Okay, very good. Thanks for the update.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Grecky. Okay, Mr. Coops, 14F,
Yes,
Do
is
I have to
PJ Milano
stay?
available?
he's on the way up.
There we are. So probably incumbent on us to tell the story of our OFO bikes that's out the city and how that's played out.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The first 90 days of the pilot program went really well. However, the company met some significant challenges over the second 90-day period which we were reviewing. Two major issues, I think, led to us ultimately we are going to terminate this pilot program at this time. The first major one was what they're calling the mass privatization of the bikes, and ultimately theft of the bikes, and not being able to.
That's one way to word it.
Yeah.
I like that word.
And they were not able to keep up with
Demand.
with the demand, keeping the bikes out there, repurposing them in different areas. During the first 90 days, they were able to keep up with this. They had a staff out there that was bringing in new bikes. They were also finding the ones that may have been lost, stolen, or broken. However, another thing happened during the second 90 days. They went through a major management change, specifically with the group that was overseeing LA County as well as the city of Bellflower. So with that, they just were not able to keep up with the demand, and we had a meeting with them several weeks ago, and us along with the company mutually agreed that it was time to terminate the pilot program. They may come up with a plan to better address these issues in the future, and they're welcome to bring those back to the city, but at this time, we are going to terminate that program.
Conceptually, we like the program. It's kind of interesting, and we saw a lot of people using the bikes. Now, why they disappeared, that's good. We don't know. I mean, the mass privatization seems a little convenient to me. But I think that overall, it's one of those programs that there'll be competitors out there. They'll be knocking on our door. I think we need to spend some time studying the technology and see how it all works. And I think at some point in time, we'll bring something back to the council for a similar use, you know.
And that was my next question.
Yeah.
Do you see a potential for this to be in a different form? It seemed to be well received by the constituents, so well received they all got 400 free bikes, but
Yeah, I think in the future, then there's plenty of companies out there, there's different models, there's docking stations, there's dockless stations. Also, they were really visible and used along the bike trail as well. So that may be something that if we bring it back in a more limited type of program. But we'll see, there's a lot of different options out there, and these companies are growing, and they've reached out to us in the past and have recently as well.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go
one more comment, because during the presentation of Representative here a while back, I asked a question about the, well, we haven't used the word privatization. If the user decided to keep the bicycle, they said, well, they wouldn't go after them. And I said, well, how's your funding? And if I remember correctly, the guy said they're well-funded, they have billions with a B in capitalization.
3 billion.
Yes, billions, a B. So, and now, basically, they couldn't afford it, I guess. That's the...
We believe they had a change in philosophy, whether it's because they couldn't afford it or not. Because things sort of changed dramatically here inside of 2 months. So the first 2 months, everything's going swimmingly. We saw them all over. It was kind of fun. The
Well, when I
second
say
2 months,
they couldn't they couldn't afford taking the loss.
yeah, or they reassign the bikes and blamed it on the, who knows? I mean, we don't know what the market is for these guys. And there's a lot of speculation of what could have happened to those bikes. I don't believe they all went to the riverbed.
Yeah.
So
They could
you
have
know,
took them.
Yeah.
Well,
So
they're
we'll
supposed
see.
to be able to track them via GPS, right?
Yeah, you know, and it's hard
So-
for me to believe, given the guys that we saw that were driving the trucks, the big dudes that we saw, it's hard for me to believe they were a little bit shy about knocking on doors and getting their bikes back. I have a hunch they can do that. So I think that there's something else afoot here, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but we'll figure it out, and we'll bring this item back another time when we've got to have a more viable product. So, but it was worth trying, and it was
But
an
I want the
interesting experiment.
constituents to know that the city of Bellflower did not lose any money on this deal. That was all offered to us on a free
Yeah.
basis.
Right. Exactly. And maybe the next time around, we actually may make a little money, so we'll see what happens.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I entertain a motion to move the consent calendar.
No.
Oh, yeah, we better get Juan back in here. Sorry about that, Juan. I was running away from you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Sonny Santinez and a second by either Coops or Juan, whoever got there first. Let the clerk decide.
It was Dan. It was Dan.
And without objection, that'll be the order. Okay. Okay, item 13B. Randy, you got this one? Mrs. Stover? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, before we continue, if you don't mind, I'd like to recuse myself from this item, as we've been doing for the last I don't know how many weeks. I do have a conflict per the FPPC on this item. so
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Let the record reflect that Mr. Garza is recusing himself of 13B.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the Bellflower City Council. This evening, I'm discussing Agenda Item 13B related to medical cannabis business permits. At the June 11th meeting, Council directed staff to bring clarity to Resolution 18-05, which has been done in Resolution 18-38, along with directing staff to bring back an application process for the 2017 public hearing applicants so they may apply for a non-dispensary medical cannabis business permit. The projected is a list that represents those that could, if they wish, apply for a non-dispensary medical cannabis business permit.
We're using that transfer word again, aren't we?
So as
Ouch.
in
Okay.
18-38, we clarified that 2017 applicants are a new group and 2018 applicants would be a new classification.
And Mr. Mayor and members of the council, if I may, a resolution actually calls it eligible list, not the transfer
Okay,
list. So
yeah,
we
yeah,
did
because
change
I
the
know we talked to
terminology.
that
Yeah,
in
we did.
depth and-
So
okay.
the resolution changed the terminology.
Okay, so don't go by the PowerPoint, for the title anyway.
If we choose to move forward, we would use the same application process that was used for 2017 applicants. Applicants would need to submit a complete application and a full payment no later than July 16th, 2018. Applicants that were already issued a CUP would pay $25,000, and those that need both a CUP and a business permit would pay the full fee of $28,500. And the difference there is for the CUP. Once applications are processed, we would hold a public hearing, likely to be held in early August, so that council could consider filling the three
Hey, Randy, I gotta,
Yeah.
I'll stop you on this. The 28.5, so you're talking that there's a $3,500 difference for the CUP?
Correct. CEQA and conditional use permit.
I thought it was 28.5 for the CUP and 25 for the permit.
No.
No?
Well, there is a $25,000 annual fee
Right,
for
okay,
the permit. This
okay.
is just for application
Okay,
review.
okay.
So they would pay the 25
Oh,
along
okay,
with
it's for
an
application
annual.
review, okay, got it.
Correct.
And that's where I was, because MCBP says medical cannabis permit.
Right, and
And
then
that-
they're
yeah.
on top, this is just for application review.
Review, application for the permit.
Good, yeah,
Okay,
exactly. And then
okay.
if council should choose to issue that, there would be an annual
Okay, I'm
$25,000
caught up now.
permit.
So
Fee.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
So let's say, can you bring up the list of applicants? I mean,
Absolutely.
Let's say Medicine Women, they were given a CUP already on that location.
Right.
So they applied for, and they were given a dispensary license already, right?
Well-
So if they apply for, my point is, if they apply for manufacturing, they only pay 25,000.
Correct, because they already
got the CUP.
have a CUP. They've already
Yeah,
paid those
gotcha,
fees, and we
got it.
can't recharge those.
Right,
Right,
okay,
okay.
thank you, both of you.
So then we would proceed to review applications and then hold a public hearing, likely in early August, so council could consider filling the 3 non-dispensary medical cannabis business permits. And that's all we have.
I was expecting more. Were you?
This one's easy. The next
That
one's
was like
harder.
too easy.
Yeah,
Well, I was expecting, but when she said that we'll be using the same application
Yeah.
process, I think
Okay.
that did it.
yeah,
Okay.
that covers.
I thought we'd be getting into merit-based or anything like that.
No, we're not doing anything there. What tonight is only the change in the code to allow this,
Okay.
because we didn't have a section in the code that would allow it before, so we're changing the resolution to allow this item.
To allow that in there, okay. I thought we're doing it all together.
What if we could? Trust me, if we could, we would have.
Any questions of,
Yeah,
Staff.
Mr. Mayor, is staff ready to make a recommendation in terms of the process once you receive the application? Is it going to go to, what's the vetting process?
It would be the same vetting process as before.
It
We
goes to
would-
the private company developer, a planner that we used before, Meridian. They would go through the process, and then we come back to the council with their findings, and we go through the process based on the 2 changes that the council's made on the vetting process to date, including this one.
Okay, so let's say we receive, let's say, 5 applications by July 16, and all of them kind of
They meet-
passed master,
they
so to
passed
speak.
muster, right.
Okay, so what's the process before the city council?
Just like,
Go ahead.
just like you did before with the amended merit-based process that you did before.
The scoring system?
ranking.
Correct,
Okay.
right, the ranking,
Okay.
forced ranking system, correct. yeah.
Okay, but this time we'll have 3 available instead of only 1?
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Mr. Coops? No, I'm following right along.
I got my
Are we
question.
gonna do any public comment, or how are we gonna?
Yeah, I
play
was going to
that?
wait for staff comments first.
Okay.
At this time, there's anybody in the audience that want to come forward and talk about this process that we're doing tonight, you're welcome to come up and chime in. Not seeing anybody wishing to come up. What's your pleasure, guys?
Wait.
Oh. Man, you're,
One question.
you were hiding behind the clerk, I didn't see you. Yeah.
Trying to.
It used to be faster.
Hey, you lost weight, I didn't see it.
Where?
Did you get a new hat?
This process then is for, basically for the people that submitted only.
Correct.
Right,
This
yes.
process for people who have submitted, if we
Over here in
run,
December.
if we run through this process, and we don't fill the 3 remaining permits that we have,
Yeah.
then we will open it up to fill the final permits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I was asking.
That's it? Okay.
Keeping, as we've said, with the number of 12, which has been promised all along.
Okay. Second chance, anybody want to come up? Okay, now what's your pleasure?
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for City Council to adopt Resolution 18-38.
Second.
Got a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Sunny Santa Inez and a second by Councilmember Coops. Call roll, please.
Councilmember Coops,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Santa Ynez,
Aye.
Mayor Dutton,
Aye. All right. It's the calendars done. It's out of order, out of order. Mr. Coops, you have any council agency reports or anything?
Well, just that I believe that we remind the public that the July 4th holiday, as I mentioned earlier, is coming up next week. And if you are shooting off illegal fireworks, it's easier to say it now than when we write you up, it's a $1,000 fine. And we usually write between 90 to 100 of these tickets that will, you'll be expected to pay, will follow you to the ends of the earth to pay it. And so just, if you're going to do fireworks, then make sure that it's the ones that are illegal, are that illegal and not illegal. And, you know, the little ones you need to put on a stepladder to make it have any height, that's the ones you can blow off. And, you know, a time when we were kids and fireworks really had some push to them, but as time goes along, they're not like they once were, and people go the other direction.
They say they're watered down?
I don't, I didn't,
Is that what you're saying? Or they, to keep the cost down, they put less sparkles in them?
But, you know, that's the next week. As mentioned earlier, we're starting our season throughout the summer where we're going to have bands and we're going to have movies on Friday nights. And that's always a great time for the city of Bellflower to come out and see your neighbors and meet new friends and just experience the Bellflower Boulevard experience. We've got, you know, the Ricky's Restaurant's opened. Calaveras is going full tilt. There's so many great new things happening on the boulevard. And by the end of the summer, maybe in the fall, we'll have our Steelcraft location developed to the point where you'll see tacos and hamburgers and ramen and Vietnamese food because everybody likes that, and ice cream and beer, all the things that a carnival would be made of, and that's really going to make the boulevard come to life. That's all I have.
I think you got it covered, didn't he, Sonny?
Yeah, pretty much.
Did I leave you anything, Sonny?
I just want to add, Mr. Mayor, I just want to add to Mr. Cook's comment about 4th of July. I wish everyone a patriotic 4th of July celebration. And I think that the three of us are signed up to participate at the flag raising ceremony at the Church of Jesus Latter-day Saints on Carpintero Avenue. So if you're available at 8 a.m.,
7:30, I think. 7:30.
please join us. It's going to be a nice celebration that we've been doing every year. And also just one final point in terms of the development in the city. You know, parking is starting to be an issue, which is a great problem to solve. So please bear with us. There's going to be parking pressure. It's going to be difficult to find parking in the meantime until the parking structure is completed. But it's a good thing to have. Parking is a very good problem to have, and we are solving that problem. So please bear with us. Just like any construction, the word is pardon the dust. So we're going to go through the growing pains, but after everything's said and done, it's going to be a wonderful city. Thank you.
And then I just thought of something that Mr. Coops missed. Our comedy club is coming to town.
Ooh.
200-seat venue, 2 shows a night, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday downtown. That will impact the parking even more. So hopefully that'll be in by the end of the year. And with that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting to the next regular council meeting, get my glasses on here so I can read, to the City of Bellflower, 5:30 PM, Monday, July 9th, 2018.
I want to take extension on that fireworks hotline, 925-01